Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for September 16th, 2021. I am your host, Tamoor Hussain, and you came here expecting a Tim Tam Thursdays. Unfortunately, you will not be getting that because I am joined by the leftover puppy himself, Blessing Adeoye Jr. What's poppin', Bless?
Tamoor Hussain, how's it going? It's lovely to be here with
It's
you.
going well. People expected Tim. Tim's having
They got
some
me.
power issues, so we got
Yeah.
Blessing in.
They
Blessing's got
expected LaCroix Poppy. Instead, they got leftover Poppy.
And we're happy to have you, of course. Blessing, September 6th,
Yes.
16th, September 16th,
16th.
today, National Play-Doh Day, a day on which
Oh.
we acknowledge the moldable substance designed originally to clean wallpaper, but we celebrate it for giving shape and form to the imagination of children and adults around the world.
I feel like I relearn that wallpaper thing once a year, and I always forget it. And so it's always pleasant to be reminded that that was the original intent of Play-Doh. So that's first and foremost. Second, Tamoor, when was the last time you played around with Play-Doh?
It's been a while, but Play-Doh is a weird thing where I haven't touched it in years, but I know I can feel it on my hands.
You
and
can feel it. You can smell it too.
I can smell it.
Yep.
And I'm sad to admit, I can taste it. I can taste it.
It's so weird
God.
that it was made to clean walls, and then they immediately were like, "Oh, let's add food coloring in it, and then it'll stain everything that it goes on." You know?
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
weird thing. Also, I'm gonna say it. I wish it tastes better. As a
I
child,
wish it
I was
would
always
taste
like,
better,
"This
yeah.
looks like it's gonna be delicious." It never was.
Yeah.
I mean, if they made Play-Doh taste better, I feel like that would kill a lot of children. I feel like there's a reason. It's the same way you. It's
Yeah.
the same reason why you
It's
make
mostly
Nintendo
dough.
cartridges
I'm
taste
pretty
bad.
sure it's mostly dough.
Yeah, I mean, like, has anyone ever tried to bake
mean,
a
it's half
cake
play,
out
half
of
dough.
Play-Doh? Technically, it is dough. Anyone made a loaf of bread? All I'm saying is,
it becomes like clay almost when you bake it, right?
I'm sure there's some innovators in the Kind of Funny community that can make it work. So if anyone's
Now,
out there and willing to take on the challenge, let's see a Play-Doh cake made out of Play-Doh that is edible.
Tamoor, you mentioned that it is September 16th, and it's a
Mhm.
special date for a few reasons.
Mhm.
One, the Lost Judgment embargo is up for reviews. I've been
Mhm.
playing Lost Judgment. It's one of the many games that I've been losing myself in, and I've been having an absolutely amazing time playing Lost Judgment. And
Right.
it's funny because I didn't even play the first Judgment. I hopped right into Lost Judgment and immediately started having a good time. I'm a few chapters in, probably like six-ish hours. But just wanted to throw it out there because I don't know if we have a segment or if there's an upcoming show or anything that I'd be able to talk about it. It is a very fun game. Like, it is a very fun game.
It
Want to
is.
say that real quick?
Yeah,
for
I
it.
mean, like, I was gonna say, we have a review of it up on GameSpot.com, and we gave it a 7 out of 10 and talked about how it is a fun game. I'm interested from you, Bless, because it also tackles some incredibly heavy subject matter, including
Yes.
bullying and to some degree assault as well. And it starts off kind of like handling it in one way, and from if you've read the Polygon review, it does something with its handling of that can be quite a shock to a lot of people. So how are you finding it in terms of thematically and narratively?
Thematically, I'm early enough to where I don't think I'm not in the places where they're coming full circle on how they're handling that stuff. Like, they're introducing a lot of stuff. The game starts off early on tackling bullying as one of the main things of this game, because you like early in this game you're tasked with going to a school and investigating shit that's going on in that school, and you're trying to get to the bottom of like what is the bullying situation, like what it feels very almost low stakes for a private detective to get hired to go to a school to like see like, hey, is there bullying going on? And from there it seems to build and try to and snowballs into something bigger. I'm still in that process of snowballing, right? Like, it's still, for me, I'm still in the place where it's getting bigger and bigger. The things that I'm appreciating so far are like the interactions. The high school stuff I do think is interesting because it reminds me almost of like a Persona kind of setting where you are like you're tasked with like being the lead of a club. You're doing, and you're an adult, right? Unlike in Persona where you're a student, you're an adult like leading certain clubs. You are interacting with students. It has kind of that Persona slant to it, which I appreciate, but it does have more of a serious, I guess, vibe than Persona, because Persona 5, even though Persona 5 tackles a lot of serious issues, it's super stylized, and it has like that jazz funk flair to it that kind of takes you out of it and doesn't really paint it as serious as the actual subject matter of Persona is.
Right.
Lost Judgment does paint that stuff serious, even though it does have the over the top nature of Judgment and Yakuza. it still tackles that stuff in a way that feels okay. They're getting into this, like they're gonna face this stuff head on. And for where I'm at with the stuff right now, the bullying stuff doesn't seem egregious. It seems fairly tasteful so far, but again, like I'm still early on in that.
Right.
And the other stuff seems to be very like par for the course for detective drama, right? Like it feels like I'm watching a Netflix detective show in a lot of instances, and like
Yeah.
I'm not like there. Of course, it's judgment, and so like there's a murder case, there's other things, and like there have been some scenes where I'm like, oh damn, that's kind of gross, like that's kind of real, it's kind of disgusting, but yeah, I'm not that deep enough in it yet to where it's like, oh shit, I don't know how I feel about this yet. But so far I have been digging it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it carries on for you. We don't have a segment dedicated to Lost Judgment reviews. Ordinarily, I know that's something that we would do, but I do encourage everyone to go out there and read the reviews before, or if you're interested in it. Instead, we do have a bunch of other big stories. Today's stories include Battlefield 2042 being delayed, a new Nintendo controller, and Deltarune. I know this is going to make Blessing excited.
And Tamoor,
Yes.
you didn't mention the biggest story of KFGD today. We're happy to officially announce that Tamoor Hussain is a part-timer, is going to be regularly hosting on KFGD alongside Tim Geddes for Tim TM Thursdays.
Yeah.
That's a regular thing. Congratulations, Tim. Now that Greg is going to be out for paternity leave, and so you're gonna be taking over Thursdays with Tim, which is very exciting.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's been a wild. Getting that offer was unbelievable. I've been watching the Kind of Funny stuff since years and years now, like from the very start. And I started off being a lurker, and that was a lot of it because, gaming communities can be, one, notoriously difficult to get into, and two, can be a little weird. And I very quickly learned that this was a very different kind of community, and I started off being just a best friend in the chat and having such a great time, and then over time have contributed to the content here, and having you guys all support and having you guys include me has been wild. It's been a dream come true. And over the last year, during this like quarantine period where it's been really like intensely happening and doing it more and more, it's been one of the things I look forward to on a week to week basis on top of my usual work. It's been like, I wonder what cool things I might be able to do with the KF crew, and I get to consume it and also now be part of it. And the community has been so receptive and so like positive towards me and helping me whenever, encouraging me and showing me how to do things right and wrong and suggesting things. And I've loved doing that. And I hope that I can continue to perform well for you guys. And I'm excited to kind of be a bigger part of the shows that are coming up.
Yeah. Dude, I'm super excited to have you. I'm mad at Tim because Tim has cornered the TM market, and so like he gets to host with you, and part of me was excited when I saw that Tim's power went out, because that means that I get to host with Tim for the first time, even though that means I missed my haircut that I was supposed to get at 9:30. But hosting with you, I one is exciting because we've been doing the Metal Gear Solid streams, and you've been absolutely killing it when it comes to that, and it's been a wonderful display of like, Tam knows his stuff. Tam loves and appreciates video games, and Tam is a dude who's been in the industry for a long time now, and like knows the ins and outs. KFD is the perfect, I would say, venue for you to like come through and shine and cover news and like educate the audience, educate me, right? Because like I feel even though now I've been on KFG for almost approaching 2 years, I still feel like I'm very much a student of the game, where I still listen. I'm like, oh shit, man, I love these perspectives. I love listening to these guys talk about video games. And so very excited to have you, Tim. Very excited to listen to Tim Tam Thursdays. Very excited for Tim's power to go out in the future and to replace him on Thursdays regularly. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I feel like I've gained like thousands and thousands of new friends in like doing this. So that is incredibly exciting for me. And I'm glad that I can be here. But you are, of course, watching Kind of Funny Games Daily, where each and every week at 10 a.m. live right here on twitch.tv/Kind of Funny Games, we run you through all the news that you need to know to prove to all your friends that you are the coolest and most knowledgeable gamer on the internet. If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get something wrong by going to kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Hopefully we won't get anything wrong, but if you want to correct us, because we did, that is where to go. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames or on roosterteeth.com, or listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kind of Funny Games Daily. To be part of the show, just head to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, where bronze members or above get to write in, and silver members or above get the show ad-free, along with exclusive daily post shows. Housekeeping. I mean, goddamn, one time let it be a bad game of sweeping.
Love that.
You like that? You like that? That was just for you.
That was beautiful.
There is a new episode of PS I Love You XOXO, and it is jam-packed with goodness. It's got Andy previewing Solar Ash. That boy knows his video games, and he knows how to preview them. There's a massive breakdown of all the unanswered questions from the PlayStation Showcase, which has got really, really good insight and information in it. There's some chat about Twisted Metal, because people really care about Twisted Metal, and Anthony Mackie is attaching himself to Twisted Metal, which is an exciting future for that franchise. There's PlayStation Studio Talk, and of course, Deathloop. Plenty of stuff for you to check out. And a reminder, this month is September, which means it's also Subtember on Twitch. That means viewers across the platform throughout the month can take advantage of 20% off subscriptions for first-time subscribers and gifted subs. Your support is obviously imperative to Kind of Funny, and the team is currently putting out some banging streams every day between this Kind of Funny Games Daily. There's that Surgeon Simulator stuff nonsense that I've been seeing nonstop, and it is wild and amazing. There's the infamous baby race, as I like to call it. There's the Metal Gear Solid streams, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I've definitely forgotten. But needless to say, if you're spending money on a sub, you are getting your money's worth. You can take advantage of this deal right now and receive benefits like ad-free viewing, sub emotes, and plenty more. And of course, we want to thank our Patreon producers, the Kind of Funny Destiny 2 PC clan, and Blackjack. And today we are brought to you by DoorDash and Canva, but you'll learn more about that later. For now, let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. It's time for some damn news. We have 5 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Exactly, Kevin. Thank you so much. That was high energy and powerful. I appreciate it. The first story comes from Eddie Makuch and Gabe Gurwin at GameSpot.com, the best video game website on the internet.
Look at you referencing your own website.
Don't make me pop off with my top off. It's GameSpot or nothing. And the big story, of course, is Battlefield 2042 has been delayed to November 19th. That's Battlefield 2042 will not launch on schedule, as the studio has confirmed on Wednesday that the military shooter will now arrive on November 19th. It was previously stated to launch on October 22nd. Jeez, I can't talk anymore. The delay is no big surprise, as rumors and reports pointed to one. EA said the teams did not have the opportunity to get back together in person to work on finishing the game, and this meant that extra time was needed before it would be ready. The game is now releasing very close to Halo Infinite, so it's now coming a few weeks later after Call of Duty Vanguard instead of right before it. They released a statement on Twitter, and the statement reads, "Building the next generation of Battlefield during a global pandemic has created unforeseen challenges for our development team. Given the scale and scope of the game, we had hoped our teams would be back in our studios together as we move towards the launch. With the ongoing conditions not allowing that to happen safely, and with all the hard work the teams are doing from home, we feel it's important to take that extra time to deliver on the vision of Battlefield 2042 for our players." Blessing, how do you feel about a Battlefield delay? Do you think it's ultimately going to be working out in their favor?
I mean, delays always work out in both the favor of the developers and the players, right? Like, only good things can come from a delay most of the time. Usually that means that we're going to get shipped a game that's in a better state. Hopefully, whatever bugs or glitches or whatever in there that's not optimized or complete, those get worked out and we're able to have a better game before it. It's like because of it. It's like the Miyamoto quote, right? Like, a good game is good forever, but a delayed game is better for some reason because of it. Yeah. And like, you know, that I think
Miyamoto, Wayne Gretzky. That's how it goes, right?
Wayne Gretzky, exactly.
Okay,
Michael Scott.
Yeah.
You know, it's always that thing of like, cool, yeah, delays are always, I think, a bummer for, I want to play this game now, but it's going to result in a better thing. That said, one of the things we talked about yesterday when this news was originally being talked about, reported, but we didn't have official confirmation, one of the things that was mentioned was late November, and there wasn't an exact date on when the game would actually come out. And so me and Andy had the back and forth of like, is it going to be too close to Halo Infinite? Like, how are those going to affect each other? Is this ultimately going to turn into the battle of the first person shooters? Which this whole fall already feels like the battle of the first person shooters, but taking all of them and kind of condensing them into even a shorter time frame is only going to amplify that. I think this is fine, right? Like November 19th is far enough away from December 8th to where I think people will get that 3 weeks of fill of Battlefield 2042. And of course, like the people that are going to stick with it are going to stick with it. And of course, like Halo Infinite is for people who have the Xbox, who have a PC, who have a platform that can play it. And that community is very much going to be into Halo Infinite regardless. And the multiplayer being free, I think is going to get people into that game regardless. That, you know, I think here it's more Battlefield's game to lose if we're putting them up against each other. Battlefield having the space to kind of breathe for at least 3 weeks is going to do a lot for it in terms of it not being interrupted. I think the other thing, though, is it being put out after Call of Duty, which I got to look up when Call of Duty Vanguard is actually supposed to release. Because regardless, Call of Duty is a big release, is the biggest release every single year, right? And so that being the case, Battlefield coming out after that, in between those two games, is going to be a challenge, I would say, for that game. Because it's going to be hard to, one, feed people off of Call of Duty, but then also, as you're feeding people off of Call of Duty, keep people on as Halo Infinite is coming through, right? Like, that's a difficult place to be, and you're literally in between a rock and a hard place in that situation. And so, like, that's the thing I worry about a little bit. Regardless, you know, like, these are all games that are going to have a few weeks to breathe between each other, and so hopefully in an ideal situation, they're all able to thrive, but it's a wait and see kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely the right decision, especially given the kind of trend that Battlefield is on, and also the place where first-person shooters, the major first-person shooters, are right now. I think for a lot of them, they're in a position where it feels like make or break for a lot of them, if you get what I mean. Like Halo feels like it's in a make or break situation. We had a few okay Halo games, but nothing that really captured the magnitude of how how amazing and how all-encompassing Halo was back in its prime. But that is what Microsoft ultimately wants from it, and it's what fans of Halo ultimately want as well, right? And where they are currently, it's like a tricky position because they already piecemealed it, and we're not getting the co-op and that kind of stuff. So they're in a strange position. Call of Duty is in this position where, you know, Warzone is the thing. And now it's kind of like, how do we release a new game without screwing up what we've got going here? So like they have their own challenges around that. And for Battlefield, I feel like they're in a position where they need to hit hard from the outset to make sure that they remain in the mind share of, you know, first person shooter players. And like as good as okay as the games have been recently, if there's one thing that kind of ties them to the last few releases together, is their launches have always been very shaky. Mainly because of the ambition of those games, right? Like they're always massive scale, and they're always doing so much with the physics and kind of like the visuals, and it's always top of the line, but it always feels like this thing is under so much pressure and it's about to buckle, and it usually does. And when it does, it's all over the internet, and that becomes the story of Battlefield, at least to begin with. I think this is a good opportunity, and I hope they're taking this opportunity to release a version of the new Battlefield that doesn't succumb to that as much. Because I know for myself, the last few Battlefields I've bought and then very quickly cycled out because of the issues at the start and never come back to. And I know that's anecdotal, but I imagine that it's very similar for a lot of people. And I think they want to avoid that this time around. So the delay definitely feels like the right move.
Yeah, and when you look at the dates, right? I looked up Call of Duty comes out November 5th, and that is a tight squeeze, right? That's two gigantic multiplayer first person shooters in November, followed by a Halo Infinite early in December. And talking about what you're talking about with, hey, how are you going to launch? You know, a game like this requires a smooth launch, or at least could really use a smooth launch in order to keep that player base going and build off of that momentum, because it's easier to start off good than to start off shaky and then get good later. With a launch slate like this, you don't really have the space to fuck up. You know, like if Battlefield 2042 has a first week that is super shaky and servers suck and it's buggy and all these things, 2 weeks later there's a Halo. Like you can't do that, right? People are going to have places to go, especially when Call of Duty is Call of Duty. It is a full price first person shooter, except for Warzone, which is free. But Call of Duty is also the game that sells the most every single year. Call of Duty doesn't really have to worry about how are we going to sell this to people. People are going to buy Call of Duty. Halo Infinite multiplayer is literally free, and Halo Infinite single player campaign is on Game Pass, and also for the people who don't have Game Pass, which if you're a diehard Xbox fan that is going to play Halo, I don't know why you don't have Game Pass. But if you don't have Game Pass, you're still probably going to get a Halo if you're a Halo fan, right? Like Halo doesn't really have to worry about that as much. Halo has its own things to worry about. I know people talk about 343 and like, you know, is Halo Infinite going to be another Halo 5? Is it going to go back to the greatness that we love from classic Halo games? That's its own conversation. Battlefield 2042 is the one that we've been talking about for months in terms of, is Battlefield 2042 going to thrive as a premium $60 first-person shooter multiplayer game in a space where that has become less and less viable? Unless you're a Call of Duty, or unless you are a like huge name, like a name of the size of Call of Duty, right? Like Call of Duty is the only one that's doing it for that type of multiplayer game still. You know, unless you're a Rainbow Six Siege or an Overwatch or a game with its own twist that has some kind of very unique, very quality take on being a multiplayer PvP shooter, it's hard to really justify a $60 price tag or a full price tag on a multiplayer first person shooter, right? And I think the thing that Battlefield 2042, when I look at the previous gameplay trailers and the showcases that they've been in, the thing that has attracted me to that game is seeing the big events, seeing the I forget what the creative mode is called, that like basically what the analog is to Forge in Halo, right? Like seeing that stuff in Battlefield has me like, oh shit, that looks fun, that looks cool. And historically, I'm not a Battlefield person, but the trailers for this Battlefield have gotten me in to some extent. That said, are they going to stick the landing? That's where they really need to. That's where that really needs to come together to get somebody like me to actually commit to follow through and want to actually continue to play this game.
Yeah, at the very least, like we've got a
Portal. Thank you for Corey cutting in chat.
Yeah, at the very least, we've got an interesting kind of like matchup between these franchises, with Halo having free multiplayer, and Warzone being a massive thing for Call of Duty, and then Battlefield trying to find its place within the premium market. At the moment, it's exciting, but we can't count on any of those being amazing. What we can count on, though, Blessing, is Deltarune Chapter 2 coming out this week.
Yes, we can.
This comes from PC Gamer Shaun Prescott, who writes, Undertale creator Toby Fox released the first installment of the episodic Deltarune series all the way back in 2018. Its follow-up, Chapter 2, was meant to launch last year, but after a long silence, we finally have a firm release date, Friday, September 17. If you're watching this live, that means tomorrow, Friday. Deltarune, which is an anagram of Undertale, which I did not know, and it blew my mind. Well done, Toby Fox. Great job. Bears a strong resemblance to Fox's enduring cult RPG, with the same pixel style and the same surreal sensibilities. That game is called, I've not heard of this game. It's called Undertale?
Undertale.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Sounds like nobody cares about that. This second chapter will follow directly from the first, and if you've still got Deltarune Chapter 1 save data at hand, you'll be able to continue right off from where you left off. As per the Deltarune website, just make sure you've watched the credits of the first chapter. The website adds that you don't need to worry about save transfers anyway, so as long as you generally remember what happened story-wise, you should be okay. It looks like Deltarune Chapter 2 will be releasing through Deltarune's website. No word as of yet on Steam or other storefronts. First chapter was free. Chapter 2 will have a price tag, according to a trailer for Chapter 1. What the price tag is, we're not sure yet. We'll find out tomorrow. Blessing, first of all, we'll have a question that comes from Sapphire, Diamond, Ruby related to this after. But first of all, I know you're a huge Undertale fan, and you played Deltarune. How do you feel about this surprise release?
I'm shocked. It's funny because last week they announced the way they announced this, right, was through an Undertale anniversary stream where they played through the entirety of Deltarune 1 with Toby Fox. And I saw the announcement of that stream last week, and part of me was like, oh, that's cool. I wonder if there's gonna be Deltarune news. Probably not. That's hoping for too much. That'd be crazy if they did anything Deltarune, new Deltarune related. When they started announcing this or teasing this last night, right? Like the way they did it was during the Deltarune stream. They finished playing Deltarune, and then they brought up a menu that was continue to chapter 2. And that's where I started to see people on Twitter go crazy because I wasn't watching the stream. I was doing my own thing. I just happened to be scrolling through Twitter, and I saw people tweeting out like hey, like they're about to play Deltarune Chapter 2. And seeing that, I immediately popped into the stream, and they played a few minutes of it. Maybe it was just a trailer. I couldn't tell whether it was actual gameplay or a trailer because the way they did it was very smooth. But they basically played a little bit, and then that transitioned into Deltarune Chapter 2 is coming out this Friday. And it's funny because we talk about our fantasy draft all the time that we did for Gamescast early in the year, where me, Greg, Imran Khan, and Tim Geddes each drafted games that are gonna that we thought were going to perform well on OpenCritic in the year of 2021. And the meme from that fantasy draft is Tim Geddes' fantasy draft, where if you look at it, Tim Geddes thought 2021 was going to be the greatest year of all time for video games, apparently. And like you look through his list, and there's at least, let's see, 3, 6. There's like 7 not releasing games on his thing so far that have been announced not to release. But then he has like other games like Final Fantasy 16 in there. He has Bayonetta 3. He has Breath of the Wild 2. He has Hellblade 2. He has God of War Ragnarok. Like he has Last of Us Factions. Tim Geddes' list is the list of dreams. The least likely game on there would have been Deltarune. If you had asked me, hey, which one of these, if any of these are not releasing in 2021, which of these are not releasing? And I would have said, oh, out of all these, Deltarune. The fact that Deltarune Chapter 2 was announced blows my mind, and I'm very excited because Toby Fox is one of those dudes who, if somehow you missed Undertale and somehow you missed Deltarune Chapter 1, like his games are very indie, right? Like he's kind of the sole visionary for these games. He has help from other people for like music and art and other things, but for the most part, like he's churning away at these things. He's doing the bulk of the work on creating these games, and he's created a cult following around these games that are essentially Earthbound inspired slash what was the RPG game that came out last year that re-released based off of a RPG that was out on the PS1? Moon and RPG Tale or some shit like that, right? Like Undertale takes inspiration from Earthbound and that, and creates its own cast of characters, has its own quirky story, but there's so much heart and so much warmth and so much like creativity and uniqueness in that story, in that game, that people just flock to it and people love it, including myself and including people like Barrett Courtney. Isn't that right, Barrett?
God, I didn't realize like how much like Undertale and like even Deltarune meant to me until like I think it was like last year I like replayed it on stream and like the way that the ending of Undertale like hits me was like, God damn, like I didn't realize that this was in my like top 3 games of all time, but it's up there. And yeah, I remember when, like Deltarune was like weirdly announced as like that survey like file thing that you had to go download. And I remember I sat next to Brendan Graber at IGN. We both downloaded at the same time. We were both like, what the hell is this? And like going through chapter 1 was such like a crazy time because we didn't think it was like a game that you could play for like 3 or 4 hours. We thought it was just going to be like this like 20-minute thing. So that I remember that being so special. And the fact that like we're getting chapter 2 tomorrow is just so crazy, and I'm so excited. The reason I came in here though, Blessing, my question is, does this count for Tim's Fantasy Critic League? Because I feel like he drafted Deltarune in assumption that the entire game was going to come out. This is just Deltarune Chapter 2.
Well,
like, does that count for him?
I'm gonna say
he was convinced like the entire game was going to come out this year, and I was like, "Damn, there's no way."
That's how it was supposed to happen. If you remember, after Deltarune Chapter 1 came out, Toby Fox put up a post that was like, "Hey, the rest of Deltarune is going to be one drop. I'm not doing a chapter system. Right. After this is going to be the rest of Deltarune." So I have Deltarune Chapter 2 might be the rest of the game unless he's pivoting and is doing a chapter based thing. That is all still a mystery of what exactly this is.
Let me bring up a tweet because I feel like he tweeted also last night that like this is like what we were able to give for now or something like that. Or I might be misremembering that, but I feel like there was, even though like the chapter 2 is dropping it sounded like there might still be more after chapter 2, but I might be
Which
misremembering
could
that.
make sense as a pivot, because in that same blog post where Toby Fox talked about how the rest of the game is going to be one drop, he also talked about how, yeah, this is going to take a while. Like, it's going to take forever to me to put out this game, and so don't expect it anytime soon. Like, be patient and all this stuff. Him pivoting to being like, cool, actually, no, I am going to go back to a chapter system. We're going to do it in chapters. Makes sense for actually putting this thing out in a timely manner, because it seems like he really wants to craft something that for somebody who is the sole visionary of this thing, and somebody who is the dude doing the bulk of the work, is going to take him a long time to do, because video games, however small or big, do take time to make. And for whatever he wants to do with this thing, it seems like he wants to make it seemingly bigger and longer than Undertale was. And so, like, this is I think this is a decent way to do it if he's going to do it. And yeah, like, I have so many questions on how this is going to pick up from Deltarune 1. I've seen people in chat going back and forth of, like, should they play Undertale? Should they play Deltarune? I'll say everybody should play Undertale. I think Undertale,
Yes.
I'm with Barrett, that is one of my favorite games ever. And it's not going to be for everybody. I know there are plenty of people that are going to be like, Undertale's overrated. And, like, I get it, right? Like, it's a weird, like, it's funny because when I talk about Undertale being one of my favorite games, it is hard to sell it, aside from the fact that I just connect to it a lot. It's not the most graphically impressive game. There are games with better art styles. The soundtrack is, like, amazing. I'm not gonna say there are games with better soundtracks, but, like, the soundtrack in there is incredible. But if it's not your jam, I also get it. Like, the character work isn't the best character work of all time. The story isn't the greatest story of all time. But I think for me, it's the way that all of these things come together as a whole, but then also how fresh and unique it is as a game, period, does so much for me in terms of wanting to play something that feels fresh and different and unique and new, and that has a very specific sense of humor, has a very specific tone, has a very, very specific vibe. I think that's the reason why so many people connect to it, not necessarily the fact that, it is Last of Us levels of quality or anything like that. I would say you guys should check it out.
It's a very unique world, and with very charming characters, especially in Undertale. I need to replay Deltarune Chapter 1 before I get into Chapter 2, because there's, like, some blanks here and there of, like, I kind of remember some aspects. For people who are, like, wondering if they need to play Undertale before they try out Deltarune. I would say that the experience of playing Undertale beforehand, like, probably enhances your experience with Deltarune, but I don't think it's entirely necessary. There's a lot of lore things and, like, hints of, like, how the two games possibly are connected that you might get into if you get to play both. But I wouldn't say it's entirely necessary. But that's just
I would suggest it. Like,
100%.
I don't think there's a rush to play Deltarune if you want to play Undertale beforehand. And so I would say, yeah, like, if you have any interest, Undertale's on all platforms. It's even on Vita if you want to play it on Vita. Play that, and then download Deltarune, and then get into Chapter 2 with us all on Friday and have a good time.
I guess, like, the natural jumping off point is Sapphire Diamond Ruby's question, which was, with Deltarune's surprise announcement and of the release date last night for Chapter 2, what do you think of this type of marketing and announcement reveal? Something this close to the actual release date, both as media/journalists and for fans alike. Thanks always. Have a fantastic day. We spoke to the fan side of it. Inevitably and naturally, you're very excited about it. But is there any part of you that's like, damn, I wish I had more time, or there was more of a heads up to cover it?
For this, no, because this game has, one, the cult following, and I guess it has the indiness of it, right? Where, like, if this is Last of Us Part 3, or if this was Half-Life 3, or if this was a game that had, like, if this is a huge AAA game that everybody is all paying attention to at the same time, then yeah, I'm right there with you, right? That had to get distributed and reviewed and all this stuff. I'm totally with you that, like, oh man, I would wish that I had more time to cover it, or I'd wish that I had more leeway or more of a build up to it, because blindsiding people with that, I think, just does so much in terms of inconveniencing content creators and journalists and fans who may want to, like, have more time to experience this thing, or schedule out time to experience this thing. Deltarune is one of those ones where Deltarune Chapter 2, I don't expect to be longer than 3 hours. Maybe it's 3 to 4 hours. But then also, it's small enough to where you are, like, that is the way that you get that fan base excited. I wouldn't want to have, like, this lead up to Deltarune, because I think that's one of those things that can become like overbearing and not as fun with a game like this. You know, like I think about how many times people ask for Hollow Knight Silk Song. At every single presentation, people are like, is this where Hollow Knight Silk Song is going to be? I think, you know, if Hollow Knight Silk Song came through and was like, hey, we're dropping next week, I think about the announcement to lead up of how that week's going, right? People are getting excited, people are getting hyped, people are ready to play this thing, and you jump into it, and like it's not as, you know, big and like it's not as eventful as like a, I guess, long ass Last of Us Part 3 media lineup, right? But like, you know, you're able to do that because it's smaller. I think Deltarune is in the same place where you're able to do that because it's smaller.
Yeah, I think especially for like Undertale / Toby Fox related experiences, surprise drops are kind of the important. It's an important part of that. Like that Undertale in many ways came out of nowhere and took the world by storm. And I feel like the strategy for Toby Fox has been to do the same with pretty much everything. So you know, surprise games make sense for this. Although not all surprise games and surprise announcements are created equal. And Blessing, I'm about to drop one on you. There's a new Wipeout game.
Oh shit.
Wipeout Rush is a new game in PlayStation's legendary racing series, writes Eurogamer's Tom Phillips. And it's coming, Blessing, to iPhone and
PS5.
Android. iPhone and
Oh.
Android.
Oh,
Early
damn. Oh, shit.
22, baby. Here it comes. Yes, this is an official Wipeout game, writes Tom Phillips, at least in name anyway. The debut trailer clearly shows PlayStation trademarks at the end. It will feature unique, you know what you want in a racing game like Wipeout, a futuristic racing game. Here it comes, the feature you want from it: unique card-based racing and a single-player campaign. Who's ready for that?
Tim, that
Rush.
sounds like an ad lib. It sounds like somebody put in a bunch of blanks and just gave you like a thing to fill out. It was like, cool, let's make this into a press release.
I wish that were true, because then I would turn it into a Soulsborne game. But no, it is instead a unique card-based racing game with a single-player campaign. It's developed by Rogue Games, a studio set up by former IGN journalist and co-founder Matt Casamassina. IGN has the exclusive on that game reveal, and in a quote, Casamassina said, "If I want that visceral, immersive, intense racing experience, I'll find it waiting on PlayStation. But at the same time, we're delighted that we could rethink Wipeout for mobile with some fun new play mechanics and gorgeous visuals. We hope fans will come to it with an open mind, because although different, we're proud to bring the Wipeout franchise back into focus with a fresh take on the formula. Wipeout fans will likely spot returning tracks and ships in the trailer. The game also includes a comic book style story and runs at 60 frames per second." How you feel about that, Blessing?
Damn, I feel literally nothing. I feel nothing.
I am in 100%
a
agreement.
This is like more of a interesting one than like a like why? Why are they putting out a card-based Wipeout mobile game? Like I have questions on multiple levels. One, why are they releasing a mobile Wipeout game? You know, cool, make your thing, money. I'm sure there's reasons. Two, why is it card-based?
I think
the questions come in waves.
Yeah, this, as sad as, like, I'm all for this. I'm gonna check it out. I'm open-minded, as Matt has requested, to see it. I think that there is some questions to be asked of Sony in terms of what are you doing? Are you thinking about the perception of this? Because people love Liverpool Studio, which got shut down fairly unceremoniously. People love this franchise. There is a dearth of racing games, first-party racing games in the PlayStation portfolio. And Wipeout, along with MotorStorm and Gran Turismo, stands as like one of the top. I think Wipeout is perhaps the most distinct franchise they have in their portfolio. So to bring it back as this is kind of like, are you doing yourself any favors? You're definitely signing up for an uphill climb, and then adding something like card-based mechanics onto it it feels like you're signing up to do a lot of work to convince people into buying this. Generally, you don't want to be taking a franchise that you know people love and then convincing them into buying it. It should be something where, hey, that franchise you love, there's a new game, and everyone goes, yay, and then they buy it. Whereas this is the opposite.
Do you think for them they don't think a new Wipeout game is going to perform on the AAA stage on a console? Do you think they're
I
like, if we're going to bring back Wipeout, this is the way we have to do it?
I think that PlayStation Studios is very focused on a specific type of game, and outside of Gran Turismo, racing games isn't that. Like they are all
Yeah.
about making character-driven action games in the style of Ghost of Tsushima, in the style of Uncharted, Last of Us, God of War, Horizon. Those are the things that they make. Whether they have, that's not to say they don't value their other franchises. I don't think this is the right time for it, which is a shame because I feel like Wipeout could absolutely do extremely well. I think it would do much better than something like Twisted Metal, which got another go on around and was not really received well.
Yeah. And
And
it's about to get another go around.
yeah, and is about to get more love. I don't understand. I mean, like, clearly someone at Sony is looking at Mad Max and going, people love that shit. Let's just make that, but for our clown ice cream van game. And that's what we're getting. But I wish that they gave, you know, every now and then they take an opportunity to test the waters with a game. Like, they'll be with a franchise and put out something new that's a little perhaps smaller in scale to see if people respond to it. I wish they had done that again with Wipeout in a way that was familiar to everyone. Like, I know we had the HD versions, but a new, like, pared down Wipeout experience for PlayStation 5. Like, imagine how amazing that could look. Imagine how amazingly that could sound. And imagine how that would feel in your hands with the DualSense. Like, that could be a really special racing game. Sadly, that's not to be. And I just feel like they're not up for it right now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny because when we look at the PlayStation portfolio of games, they have the big PlayStation Studios titles, the ones that you mentioned, right? The Ghost of Tsushimas, Horizons, Uncharted, and all that stuff. But then they do have that, I'd say, lower tier of, and maybe this is a launch slate thing, but they have their Destruction All Stars, which they pick up and they promote and they give the push and all that stuff. And that was a game that nobody from the get go seemed to have any interest in. Like I kind of wanted to play Destruction All Stars, but I didn't expect greatness from it. And playing it, that game didn't hit. And I don't really know anybody that fell in love with Destruction All Stars. Why couldn't that have been Wipeout? And of course, I'm stuck in two places with it where I want new games to be greenlighted or greenlit. I want new games to be able to have a shot and try and all this stuff, right? But if you're putting out games that are going to hit that, let's say, double A sphere, but don't have, I guess, the vision and inspiration behind them to actually be something cool and something that's rad that people are going to flock to, just bring back Wipeout. Just have Wipeout fill that space. Bring back something that people love and have it fill that space, as opposed to crapping out something that doesn't have the stuff.
All I'm saying is Nintendo refuses to make a new F-Zero. Sony could have stepped in and been like, hey, F-Zero fans, we got something for you over here, and it's already a proven franchise, and that would have been it. But sadly, it wasn't to be at all. Also, what we're not sure whether it is to be or not to be, a new Switch controller. Confidentiality filings reveal Nintendo seems to be planning a brand new Switch controller. This comes from VGC and my former co-worker and very good friend, Chris Scullion, who writes, Nintendo is planning a new Switch controller, which is likely to be revealed within the next 6 months, a confidentiality agreement has revealed. The mysterious new product, simply described as game controller, was submitted to the FCC recently, accompanied by a number of letters requesting confidentiality on its details. Clearly, those letters were not strong enough because that confidentiality did not hold. Unlucky FCC and Nintendo. The letters request that all photos of the controller, its manual, its block diagram, and its schematics be kept secret for up to 6 months until Nintendo is ready to announce. All that stuff is on the internet now. Unlucky. Please be advised that the following information is to be held in confidence for 180 days. Basically, that is what they're talking about. And the controller has the model name HAC043, which confirms it as a Switch peripheral, as all previous Switch hardware have used the HAC prefix. The only information available for the device at the moment is that a radio test report, which tests the safety of the controller's wireless signals. This test shows that the controller was plugged into HAC002, Nintendo's AC adapter for testing, which implies that the controller has a USB-C port.
Oh shit.
Long story short, there is a diagram of it, and it looks very, very blocky. The interesting thing is the peripheral could be related to recent reports that Game Boy and Game Boy Color games are set to be added to the Switch Online service very soon. Sources reportedly confirmed to Nintendo Life earlier this month that Game Boy and Game Boy Color games are likely to be added really soon, making them the third retro library available on the service. Eurogamer reported that its own sources could corroborate the claim and that other systems could also be in the work for Switch Online. So, there's been some mock-ups, including one which Chris did himself, of like a dock-style controller, which you put the Switch into and then you play Game Boy games handheld. What do you think this controller is, Blessing?
I think the Game Boy angle is very fascinating, especially coming off of the reports we talked about recently with the reported Game Boy games coming to Switch. I find that fascinating because I wouldn't have expected some kind of Game Boy specific controller to be greenlit alongside that in the way that you have the NES controller like you used to play NES online games. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I think it's just the fact of with the Game Boy, like the Game Boy is literally it's a handheld, right? Like why would you
Yeah.
turn that into its own thing? Like is that going to have a screen if you do it? Like is it just going to be the bottom half of the Game Boy that you're holding and using as a controller? That seems weird, right? Like I have a lot of questions in terms of how that would be executed. What I would love, which I don't think this is, but I would love some kind of Switch Switch Pro controller, you know, like a pro controller that's like elite, right? Like whatever
Yeah.
like the analog to the Xbox Elite controller is for Nintendo Switch. I think that could be cool because I really like the Switch Pro controller, but it's not high tech. It has that toy feel to it for me, where like it doesn't feel as high tech as the DualSense. It doesn't feel as high tech as
Yeah.
what Xbox has. It's in that space where it still feels like it's rooted in classic Nintendo. Hey, we still make toys here. And the Pro controller is the closest thing I think they've gotten to something that feels aligned with other companies' controllers. But I would love if they had some kind of revision or step up that was cool. You have the Switch Pro controller. Now here's the Switch controller for like the gamer ass gamers out there that has what paddles in the back, that has I don't know, man, like adaptive triggers like the PS5 has. I would love something like that, but that is me dreaming big, and that's me like wishing for a thing as opposed to thinking that this is that.
Yeah, I think you're. I think my I'm on the similar lines where I'd love like a high end controller for it. Do you think, and this is pure speculation, I've not actually pulled on this thread in my mind properly. Do you think it could have anything to do with the sudden enabling of like Bluetooth headset pairing? Like, would that factor in any way?
That could be interesting. One of the things I was thinking about yesterday was about how for maybe I was talking to Kevin about this, was about how like for the Bluetooth headphones you can't communicate through them. Like they don't have the microphone enabled for in-game chat, and that's
Ridiculous.
mainly because it's ridiculous, and that's mainly because Nintendo doesn't support in-game
But
chat as well as the other platforms,
for
right? Like they
whatever
want you to
reason,
go through the phone.
Fortnite
Hmm.
lets you do it on the Switch. So if you have
Yeah,
a wired
multiple
adapter,
games do let you do that.
and it's just like Nintendo. Why are you so lame? Why?
Yeah,
I'm,
and
I'm
like
right there with you.
I wonder if there's a way that you can have a controller that implements. Maybe you connect your Bluetooth to the controller instead, and or maybe the Switch controller doesn't have. Hold on, where's my Pro controller? No, that's my Luna controller. The Switch controller doesn't have the microphone input, right? Or like
Yeah.
a earbud input. So maybe it could be something regarding that. Like I would love some kind of shift for Nintendo to shift off of the voice chat app and actually do that stuff natively on the platform. And
Mm.
the way you would do that would be to add in a 3.5 millimeter jack into the controller, and then also enable Bluetooth functionality with microphone. But again,
Yeah.
we're thinking too advanced for Nintendo. Nintendo has proven time and time again that they don't give a fuck about standards. They do what they're gonna do, and so I expect a Game Boy Brick as a controller from this.
Well, Nintendo might not care about standards, but we definitely do care about standards. And right about now is where, kind of funny, Games Daily viewers, you would be watching the ad. So it's time to roll some ads, baby. 'Cause
This episode is brought to you by HBO Max. If you're here, you probably love video games, but sometimes we have to face the cold, hard truth. We can't game all the time. Sometimes we got to kick back and watch some movies and some TV too. So it's a good thing HBO Max is here to save the day with all of your favorite DC content. HBO Max has an expansive superhero collection to feed your fandom. Greg Miller is stoked, of course. They've got Wonder Woman, they got Justice League, Stargirl, Batwoman, HBO's Shazam, Suicide Squad. The list goes on, of course. Plus, the streaming platform lets you download your favorite titles and take them with you on the go. All the bingeable collections handpicked by humans, not robots. Personally, I've been enjoying a whole bunch of different things over on HBO. I love all the day and date releases. We know we got The Matrix now coming out in December. That's really exciting to look forward to. We got Malignant. I'm about to watch that this weekend. Check out some of the best superhero content and so much more only on HBO Max. Get streaming today by going to hbom.ax/kindafunnydc. That's hbom.ax/kindafunnydc. Next up, shout out to Rooster Teeth's Last Laugh Season 2. I was a huge fan of Season 1, mainly because my boy Alfredo was in it, but Season 2, can't wait for it. Here's the whole pitch for it. Do not laugh. It's part game show, part social experiment, 100% evil laugh challenge, spectacular. Last Laugh returns for a second season with 12 contestants gathered for 6 hours to see who literally laughs last. If they laugh, smile, or smirk, they're eliminated and prevented from dethroning Season 1 champion, the homie, Blaine Gibson. The host of the show, Jeff Ramsey and Elise Willems. So that's super awesome. They have a new collection of surprises, but will there be enough to break the contestants? We'll have to find out. Last Laugh Season 2 debuts September 9th on Rooster Teeth, but you can catch up on all of Season 1 right now.
And the final story on the docket for today is a quick hit because I know that this is something that specifically Blessing is keen to hear. And I know that many kind of funny best friends who still have the heart of a child or are in fact children will be glad to hear is Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl confirms an October release date. So it's coming out on October 5th of this year. It's headed to the Nintendo eShop. And it is going to weigh in at 2.9 gigabytes. How you feel?
Man.
You feeling good about that? That weighty 2.9 gigabytes of Nickelodeon Smash Brothers cloning? You up for
I'm
it?
so excited for this. I know people hate on it because they're not expecting greatness, which is fair. You shouldn't expect greatness, but there's a lot of promising things to this game, right? Like when you look at the roster, I think is exciting. The developer that's working on it has a history of making pretty decent Smash clones. And if this is a decent Smash clone featuring Nickelodeon characters, I'm down for it. Like I'll play this for at least a day, right? Like and I'm fine with having a day of fun with this thing, if not more. If I can get my friends into this, then maybe that day turns into a week, right? Like that is the hope for me is that the game is good enough that I can convince Barrett and other folks to hop in with me online, and I'm squaring up, right? I'm picking Cora, he's picking Cat Dog, and we're having a good time. Like that is the hope for me. I hope it's decent. I hope it's good. But either way, I'm looking forward to it because again, what they've shown, there have been the funny thing is with the rollout to this, they've been doing exclusives with other outlets, and so like I think IGN had an exclusive like gameplay reveal for like a specific mechanic or whatever, and the things that they're showing off are actually pretty impressive. Like they've shown off wave dashing, they've shown off certain mechanics that like Smash Melee players are gonna look at and go, oh, that's pretty cool. Like it's pretty wild that this has this. Like you know maybe the netcode's gonna be fantastic as opposed to other Smash games, literally Smash. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited for the October 5th release date. I need to take a look at the Blessing Super Fun Games release calendar to see if that is a busy time because that strikes me as a time that might have other games coming out. But you know, until then, like I'm vibing. I'm loving this.
Well, Blessing, I'll pledge at least a week of playtime to it.
Oh,
to
let's
you.
go.
And then you've got until October 5th to convince a few others. October 5th is pretty far away. So you do have a lot of time. But, Blessing, if I wanted to know what's coming to Mom and Grub shops today, where would I look?
You would go to the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the Kind of Funny Games Daily Show hosts each and every weekday.
Keeping it tight today. We've got a few games coming out. We got Eastward, baby.
Dude, I started that last night.
Is it any good?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I've not gotten far enough to say whether it's like a great game or not. But I love the art style. I did a few of the combat sequences. Those are really fun, and I just love the energy and the setting of it because it has kind of an Earthbound. I compare everything to Earthbound, I feel like, but like it does have kind of an Earthbound, like, I guess, tone to it in terms of like it being set in more of a I was gonna say modern, but I don't even know if modern is the way to put it because Earthbound takes place in the city. This is more of in a post-apocalyptic wasteland situation, but it's not like a fantasy RPG, right? Like this has more of a unique vibe to it. It has that, but also it seems like it is the energy and writing of something like an Earthbound mixed with the combat and gameplay of something like a Zelda. And that really speaks to me in terms of setup. And so like so far I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out. And if you want to check it out, you can check it out on Nintendo Switch, Windows PC. It's out today. And I also want to take a moment to thank Kevin for sliding in and covering for my mistake. I forgot to stop for the jingle, but he got the in right at the end. And I was like, that was smooth.
Still counts. All good.
That's smooth. It still counts. Didn't screw that up. Another game coming out today is Skatebird, which is out on Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Windows PC. And my favorite review of Skatebird currently is Barrett Courtney saying, "I'm about to play Skatebird." And then later a tweet coming, quote tweeting again, "I'm going back to playing Deathloop," which was like, yikes.
Man, I had that set on my Switch. I want to try that out too.
Yeah, I want to check it out as well, just because of the novelty value of it. And then finally, we've got Superliminal and Iron Fish are now available on Game Pass on PC and consoles. New dates. The big new date we've already discussed is Battlefield 2042, which has been delayed to November 19th, 2021. Fingers crossed for that being good. And then no more barriers in multiplayer. Thanks to crossplay, virtual farmers can play Farming Simulator 22 together, regardless of their preferred system. Enables fans to join each other's experiences, platform independent, and enjoy the creative freedom of cooperative farming together when the game releases on November 22nd for the PC, Mac, PlayStation 5 registered trademark, Xbox Series XS, PlayStation 4 registered trademark, Xbox One, and what is that?
Whoa, it's the Stadia.
Stadia? Isn't that
Stadia.
what you put in like drinks, sugar-free, like sugar, like a sweetener thing? Is that not the same thing?
I know the reference you're making and I can't pull it.
What
is the reference?
That's stevia. My bad.
Thank you. I was like, I know the bit he's making, and I want to make the bit, but I can't pull the actual name of the product.
That was me.
Stadia.
That was it. I threw the ball for the assist for the dunk, and Blessing just sailed past it.
Exactly. That was one of the ones where you're playing NBA Street Volume 2. The character hops up for the alley-oop. You throw it, and it just fucking zooms right past. Which, by the way, before you get to deals of the day, I do want to shout out. I pulled up my Blessing Super Fun Games calendar for 2021 to see what is coming out around the same time as Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl. And a couple days later, you're getting Far Cry 6 and Metroid Dread. But who cares?
Oh boy!
Before that, the previous game that's coming out before that, the week before, is Hot Wheels Unleashed. And if you're talking about a back-to-back week of just pure AA nostalgia of video games, we're talking about Hot Wheels Unleashed followed by Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl. We got to find a name for that week. We might call it, I don't know, man, Blessing's Super Fun Games Week Spectacular or some shit. But I'm very excited for that week.
Blessing's B Game Week.
The B Game Week.
Deals of the day. Immortals Phoenix Rising Xbox Digital is almost $20 at Newegg. I'm going to round these bad boys up, honestly. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
You just cut out the last whole sentence you did. Want to do that over?
Yeah, did I? That is my internet kicking in. It's the evening in the UK, so that's when all the ISPs are like, let's wrap this up, everyone. No more internet for anyone. Immortals Phoenix Rising Xbox Digital is $19.79 at Newegg.
Turns out you didn't cut out. You just cut out from me.
Okay, sweet. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is also $19.79 at Newegg. Undertale, if you're looking to pick up Deltarune, which is free, you can get the precursor to it, Undertale, on PS4, and you get Vita Crossbuy for $8.99 on the US PlayStation Plus. And then THQ Nordic is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, and they're having a digital party. So you can join them on their first digital showcase on September 17th at 9 p.m. CEST. That's 12 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. BST, 10 p.m. MSK. I don't even know where MSK is. That shit sounds made up. It
And
will
we
be streamed.
will. I was say we will be reacting live to it, right?
Mhm.
They mentioned that it'll be streamed on YouTube, Twitch, and Steam. And we'll also give you a present. Claim 2 free games and keep them forever. Details below. But we will be reacting to that live right here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames at noon our time. And so get hyped for that. Hopefully we'll see some Saints Row stuff.
For sure. Now, because it is a TAM show, we are obviously overrunning, and I'm committing to it. We're going to go into reader mail. So if you can write into patreon.com/kind of funny games, where you can get your question read on the show, just like the Sheep Whisperer, who says Cory Barlog has gone on record stating God of War Ragnarok will complete the Norse story of Kratos, and went on to say that they felt that prolonging the conclusion to the third game was stretching it out far too long. Sorry. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say completing an epic story like this one in only 2 installments feels odd, especially when the modern media and pop culture has ingrained the idea of a trilogy in our minds for so long, and for better or for worse. While it is odd, that is not to say that is the wrong decision. What are your opinions on having this story conclude in 2 installments rather than 3? How you feel?
If that's the vision for it, then I'm all for it. I don't think everything has to be a trilogy. In fact, I think that's kind of exciting. The fact that we're gonna get the follow up to Ragnarok or the follow up to God of War 2018, and it's gonna wrap up in Ragnarok. And what that means is the next God of War that's gonna be PS5 exclusive, not tethered back by a previous generation. Not that the next one is gonna be tethered back, but you get what I mean. Is gonna be a brand new story, a brand new region. It's going to take place in a new mythology, possibly. That for me gets me hyped, right? Like God of War Ragnarok, I'm already super hyped for. Like I'm on 10 with that game. I'm ready to play it right now. When that game wraps up, that means that by the time we finish that, we don't know what the future is. We're looking, maybe they'll probably tease it in Ragnarok, but regardless, that gives us a clean slate to look forward to something brand new. And that's the thing that I like, because with where PlayStation Studios is at with a lot of their studios, I feel like there's a lot of expectation. We talked about on PSLW that Spider-Man 2 was the thing that we always assumed exists. We know what that game is going to be for the most part. I can assume right now, Sucker Punch probably working on another Ghost of Tsushima game.
Yeah.
I can assume right now, Horizon Forbidden West. After Horizon Forbidden West, they're probably going to make Horizon 3, Guerrilla. And so in whatever ways that big AAA studios that are tied to these publishers that have standards, that have expectations, that have wants and needs for what sequelizing your franchise looks like. I like the idea that for God of War they can go, actually this iteration is going to be done in a duology, and we're going to make sure that we're keeping this franchise fresh by moving on to the next one and continuing to tell new and fresh stories.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And I think that the kind of media training that we've got out of a lot of entertainment these days comes from things like, movies and almost TV shows as well. I feel like games are a different kind of beast, especially the God of War games, the last one anyway, because it was massive. That's like 40 hours where a story is being told. Huge story. Multiple kind of like arcs are played out in that one game. So I feel like they can do something similar with this. And I'm not really too fussed about whether they're stretching it out or not, or whether they should tell it over another 2 games. It feels like they know what they're doing, and I'm confident that they can deliver on that. So let's move on to You're Wrong, which we've got 2 major ones. One comes from one is Battlefield 2042, is actually $70 rather than 60, which Blessing said. That comes from Charles Jacob.
To be fair, I'd switch between $60 and also saying full price, because in previous gen, it is going to be $60 right on PS4 and Xbox One. And let's not act like they aren't going to buy it there too.
And then
shut your face, bro.
What Kevin said.
The nanobiologist says Nintendo All Stars is confirmed to have rollback netcode, and in God of War 2018 they already hinted at other God of War cultures in the universe that can be used, like Egypt and Celtic. Corey is also in this world. Okay,
you know what? This is what I'm gonna say. All right, I've been holding it back in terms of the Nintendo All Stars hype. Right, some would say I've been holding it back. I'm gonna commit. I think this game's gonna be good. I think Nintendo All Stars is gonna be good. All right, I'm not afraid to say it. They've been saying all the right things. You're telling me it's gonna have rollback netcode?
I mean, like,
All right, I'm excited for this thing. I'm gonna let myself be excited, and if I get disappointed, I'm disappointed.
I mean, you're not off to a great start. You've called it Nintendo All
Or,
Stars
sorry,
twice.
Nickelodeon All Stars. Nintendo All Stars is the other one.
That was Nano's fault because he did type Nintendo All Stars. So
Yeah,
but
so
you
that's
know
on
what?
Nano.
You know what? I'm gonna get behind you, and I'm gonna say I also think it's gonna be good because I want this to be good for you. So I'm excited for you, and like I said, I've already pledged to playing with you for at least a week.
It's gonna
I
be a great
will.
week, Tam.
Yeah,
Bless.
is Zuko in it? Zuko's not in it, is he?
No, he's not in it.
That's
Aang is in it, and
whack.
Korra is in it.
I'll
What's up,
take
Kevin?
Ang.
I was gonna say, like, do we want to commit to doing it when it comes out? Doing a tournament on stream.
Oh.
Maybe that's our fighting game tournament.
There it
We've been trying to
is.
figure out what the
There
fighting
it
game tournament is. Maybe that's the tournament.
If it's good, we do it once. If it's no. If it's bad, we do it once. If it's great, we do it all the time. I like that.
What you should
Once
do
a
is
month.
you do a tournament in Nickelodeon All Stars. The winner of that is then like the final boss in a Smash Brothers tournament.
Ooh,
So you do.
I love that.
You
don't
could do
hate
that. We'll workshop this until the game comes out. In the meantime, let's give you an update on what's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow's host for Kind of Funny Games Daily is once again Blessing and the return of the big dog. Not Kevin Coelho. I used big dog incorrectly there. Return of the other guy, Greg Miller, the other big dog, Greg Miller. So it'll be Greg and Blessing tomorrow. If you're watching live on Twitch, you can. What else have we got popping this week? I'm not 100% familiar. You've got Metal Gear is already done.
Cool. Kevin, what are you playing after this with Mike?
It's either Ghost or Fortnite. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. It's one of those two. I'm excited for both.
Yeah, you know you want Fortnite though. You know you want
I
it.
do, but it's just gonna be me and Mike. It looks like because everyone else seems busy. So, like, that's not as fun. Mike's only half in. I need people invested. Roger says he has to work.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
No.
Come on,
All right,
Raj.
What's
We'll
he doing?
figure it out. We'll figure it out. And there's plenty of other things going on as well for the rest of the week. So make sure you take advantage of September if you're not already subscribed, or if you can afford to give some subs. It's good for the company. It's good for Kind of Funny and the people that work here, and you as well. You get more content. Now it's time for the post show. Are we doing a post show? Yeah, we'll probably do a post show. Support us at the silver membership or above on patreon.com/Kind of Funny Games. Get this post show. So make sure that you are supporting on Patreon. And until next time, Game Daily.